Keighley Bus Museum Trust was formed in 1991 by a group of public transport enthusiasts. They used lottery and other funding to purchase an initial collection of 9 buses from the now closed Transperience collection, which was based in Bradford. Although the museum is mainly dealing with buses, there's a whole history behind the bus, and it's that story, the story of public transport in Keighley, that this DVD recounts. And although the references relate to Keighley and the local area, the chronology will probably be similar throughout the country. The story of public transport starts in Keighley with the arrival of the railway in 1847, when the Midland Railway Company extended its Leeds and Bradford line to Keighley. This was further extended 2 years later to join the East Lancashire Railway at Colne. This is Keighley Railway Station as it looked in 1847. This building was situated on the opposite side of Bradford Road, about where Asda is today. It was almost 30 years earlier, in 1820, that Patrick Bronte moved his family from the parsonage at Thornton to live at Haworth Parsonage, but little did he know how famous 3 of his daughters were to become, or that he would outlive them all. The parsonage at Haworth is situated right on the edge of the bleak moors, which when crossed lead into Lancashire. This is an early photograph of the parsonage taken before Patrick died in 1861, and before the gable on the right-hand end of the building was added by Charlotte's husband Acton Bell after Patrick's death. Patrick's daughters, Emily, Charlotte and Anne, used the bleak moorland as a setting for their books, including the famous Wuthering Heights. The Keighley and Worth Valley line didn't open until 1867, 6 years after the death of Patrick Bronte. The line was a branch of the Midland line which ran up the valley to Oxenhope. This is the small station at Haworth before the development of the left-hand side of Mill Hay. This is the same scene a generation later, showing an enlarged station and the now developed left-hand side of Mill Hay, which is much as we see it today with its typical Edwardian buildings on the left. In 1884, Keighley Railway Station was rebuilt on the other side of Bradford Road where it stands today. It was enlarged because the northern line was being extended to Keighley. For many years the station had 2 booking offices and 2 sets of staff for the Midland and Northern lines respectively. The livery stables at the bottom of Haworth Brow. The horse remained a viable means of transport into the 20th century, but things were about to change. The motor car arrives in Keighley. This early car, photographed during World War I in the High Street near the Cross, was already an object of interest for bystanders. Meanwhile, public transport on the road was carried out by horse-drawn trams. However, things here were also about to change. We are now into the 20th century. It's 1904 and the electric tram has arrived in Keighley. This is Keighley's first electric tram on a test journey nearing the terminus at Ingrow, at the bottom of Ingrow Lane by St John's Church. For more than 20 years tracks had been the order of the day for getting about in Keighley, whether by horse-drawn tram or by electric tram, but once again things are changing. It's now 1924 and as this picture shows, the tracks are being ripped up to make way for a new mode of transport. The trackless was here. The trackless still used overhead cables, however it ran on tyres direct on the road so the rails were no longer needed. This trackless was used as a demonstrator by Hove Corporation, its Hove livery still clearly visible. It was purchased in 1916, the livery would be left here as we see it until it was repainted in 1920. The trams which preceded the trolleybuses were kept to a strict livery with no ads, not so the trolleybuses as this picture shows. This trolleybus, photographed leaving the terminus at St John's Road in Utley, is quite clearly advertising lunch offers at the Imperial Commercial Hotel and Cafe in Cavendish Street, a venue which remained popular well into the 1970s. It's now 1932 and Keighley Corporation Tramways has converted completely to buses. These men are grouped in front of their now obsolete trolleybuses for one last photograph. However, motor buses had been around for quite a while by now. In May of 1905, for example, Abraham Grace of engineers Grace and Sutcliffe drove this motorbus from London to Cowling in order that one of the first regular bus services could be started between Cowling and Keighley railway station. The journey from London, which these days takes about 4 hours by bus, took 2 days with overnight stops at Hitchin and Doncaster. This picture shows a bus squeezing through Braithwaite village prior to the building of the bypass in 1938. The building of the bypass made the journey to Laycock much easier for the bus driver. However, the same situation arose when the bus needed to turn round in Laycock village. This is still true today. This bleak piece of land at Townfield Gate is what Keighley West Yorkshire Services Limited were using as a terminus for their buses in 1939, but the plans to develop the site were not acceptable to everyone. Despite the fact that not everyone was behind the plans, in 1940 a new bus station was opened. This is the building on the right of the picture with the arch leading into the bus station area. This building was to remain more or less unchanged until the building of the current bus station in 2002. The bus station in 1955 looked like this. This is what lie beyond the Art Deco period frontage in Lockham Crescent. Notice the mill chimneys in the town centre, all now demolished, although some lasted right into the 1980s, when they were demolished to make way for what is now the Cavendish Retail Park, where Sports Direct is now situated. The bus station was redesigned yet again in the 1960s, when the new shopping centre was built around 1967. The shopping centre was roofed over, keeping the original layout of streets in the late 1980s and renamed the Airedale Centre, but it took nearly 20 further years before anything was done to improve the bus station. The present bus station looks more like an airport departure lounge inside, with electronic departure and arrival times on large screens, but at least you can remain dry while you wait for your bus, unlike the previous bus stations where if it was raining you got wet. The face of public transport in Keighley has changed many times, from the first trains, through horse-drawn trams, electric trams, the tracklesses, or trolleybuses as they became known, right up to the present day, where we now have buses that kneel to allow disabled passengers to get on and off. Some of the major cities in the country are looking into the possibilities of going back to a tram network, like this one in Sheffield. These new super trams, as they are called, cost hundreds of millions of pounds to set up, so the likelihood of Leeds getting one is slim, though this is not through lack of trying for at least the last 20 years or so. The future of public transport is unknown, but we can be certain that whatever the future might hold, Keighley will be there, making the most of whatever innovations there are to allow the people of Keighley to get about with ease.